Do you ever wonder what it really means to be human? That beyond the routines, the masks, and the daily hustle, there's a raw, messy, and beautiful reality unfolding right before our eyes. I'm Rick Watson, and this is Humaning, a podcast where I have honest conversations with everyday humans, and together we peel back the layers, dive into the chaos, and celebrate the magic of just being human. As you listen, notice how different parts of your story may appear in the story of others as we all just do our best to live, to feel, and to connect. Welcome to Humaning. Jo, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Rick.
It's been a long time. It's been 6 episodes, and you are our first returning guest.
So is this like series 2?
Maybe.
Episode 2?
Yeah, maybe. All right. We've got lots to talk about. But what we didn't do in our first podcast was do a check-in.
I did notice that because I have listened to everybody else and I'm like, I got treated differently.
No, do you know what it was? I was too nervous.
Aww.
I was so nervous. I listened back to the start of that, and yeah, there was some.
Why do you think you were nervous?
I don't know.
Because it was me or because it was your first podcast?
No, I think it was just this was the first one. That one was the first that we did.
Yep.
The first sort of conversation style one, and I don't know. I think back now, like I'm not nervous now. It's just us sitting on the couch.
I'm definitely more nervous this time than
Really?
last time. I don't know. I didn't really imagine it going live or hadn't really thought it through. I was just sort of procrastinating, like coming downstairs.
Just said yes.
And I said yes. And then I didn't really think about the impact or the repercussions or even what I said. So, yeah, probably a bit more mindful now.
Yeah, cool. So before we jump into that, let's just do a little check-in. Like sitting here right now, how are you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I think coming off last week, we had just a big stressful week. I feel a lot better than last week, which is nice. Physically, I feel pretty good. Mentally, wow, we just had, my brain was like going to explode last couple of weeks. So now I feel like there's a lot more clarity.
Yep.
And yeah, emotionally, I feel quite solid, which is nice.
Yeah.
If you did this to me like 2 weeks ago, I didn't even come downstairs for like a week.
I didn't even record a podcast. I deliberately cancelled 2.
Yeah. So yeah, we've come far. It's funny to come out the other side and, our stress was obviously buying a house.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize you told everybody on the podcast. So I was getting friends messaging me, listening to your podcast saying, hey, you bought a house. I was like,
yeah, I got to kind of be careful.
Tell everybody. So yeah, we did. It was pretty stressful in many ways. And now that we're through the other end, it's like, that wasn't so bad.
I don't know. I'm still pretty scarred.
I never want to do it again.
Yeah.
So that's how I am.
Cool. Thank you.
What about you?
Physically, I think I mentioned this when I spoke to Genevieve in the last podcast. Like I just haven't really been looking after myself physically, and I just feel a bit heavy and lethargic, and that hasn't changed. It's been a week. Mentally, yeah, feeling clear. I'm also in the process right now of writing an academic paper for my study. So I'm kind of, half my brain is in that and half my brain is in the rest of the world, which tends to happen, as you know.
Yeah, I've noticed a little bit.
I get a little bit distracted.
Yeah.
So yeah, mentally I'm probably a bit split with those two things, just life and writing paper. But I do love that. I love, the academic writing. It's something I haven't done for a long time, so it's pretty fun. And emotionally feel, I think there's just some residual like sketchiness, just sketchiness and emotion. I think so. Just from the last couple of weeks of like the big picture stuff of buying a house and moving and housing security and certainty and all those big things, and just everything that was involved in that. And I had a session with my therapist yesterday, and yeah, kind of to reflect back after it just feels really there was some big stuff that happened in the last couple of weeks, so I just feel a bit of the residual of that, I think, but feeling more like my feet are on the ground, like the further we get away from that. So yeah.
I think I just lied to you. When I said, yeah, physically I feel good, that's not true. That's like what I would tell my patients, or that's the first layer. I think it's because I feel so much better than I did a week or 2 weeks ago that I consider this as good, but definitely don't feel like I'm thriving. And that's the residual of pretty much since we got back from Bali.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's that restlessness of life and what's next and where we're putting our energy. So physically, that's probably where I feel split too.
So what does that leave you feeling physically?
Well, let's just say my Instagram memes are all about perimenopause. So, so it kind of makes me wonder if this is just what life looks like now. And well, I turned 50 since the last podcast.
Ah, you did?
Yeah, I did. And it makes me really reflect on like what changes now and the rest of my life and where I want to put my energy and hormones and all those things. So yeah, when people say, how are you? I'm fine. But the truth is that, yeah, I'm kind of wondering where to put my energy, and it's worth so much to me now, so I don't want to waste it.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Thanks for the amend and the edit version.
Yeah. Layers of truth with me.
All right. So I don't know how long ago date-wise it was, but 7 episodes ago, we recorded a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Not really thinking too much about other than just kind of like it was an extended check-in and told a little bit of our story and that sort of stuff. It's episode 2 if you haven't listened to it.
Yeah, at the time I thought it was cute. I was like, oh, let's just get to chat. That was easy.
Yeah. And what happened after that went live?
Yeah. Well, my dad has shared it with everybody. So the number 1 podcast that you have. Thanks, Dad. That was primarily because he lives in Peninsula Grey, like a retirement village. And he's like, do you want to know what Jo's up to? So he kind of thought everyone should know what I'm up to. And a lot of the people in the retirement village apparently haven't heard of podcasts or Spotify. So Dad has gone around and shared it with a lot of people.
We have a pensioner influencer.
Yeah. And he doesn't think any of the other episodes are as interesting because he doesn't know the people. So so I got a lot of feedback from my dad.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, and I can't help get teary. Like I had a business, like I think for about 8 years, maybe 8 years. And 3 years ago I left it. And I left it not knowing I was actually going to leave. Just, a few little mandates, and there was the COVID era, and then my mum got sick. So I didn't have closure with a lot of my patients. And a lot of people from my past listened to it. And it was really, I've always had this little bit of guilt and not knowing. I knew that when the time was right, I'd be able to share with people a little bit more about where I'm at. But I went missing in action for a kind of good reason, but I didn't expect it. So yeah, it was really nice to have people that I haven't heard from or spoken to or anything from years ago come out of the woodwork and
Mm.
like hearing my voice.
I'm interested, what was it like to go from like radio silence to like you were inundated with messages for weeks?
Yeah, it was fun in many ways. Like it still is, like every day. Like, Kylie, who used to work with me, she's listened to it today, and Erin, another friend. And I'm sort of amazed that I wanted to think that I had an impact on people's lives. And I think sometimes when you leave, you do hope you left a legacy. And it's nice to be able to leave a legacy and not die and still have it going.
Yeah.
I heard from Fiona, who is now one of the owners of my old business, and it's just really nice just to touch base with people and realize that, that it's still, I'm still alive in some parts. Left a little bit of an impression. So yeah, it's good. I also think I should come up with like a meditation because people liked hearing my voice because they hadn't heard me talk for a while. So I was put everyone to sleep.
Should we say what your dad, I think I mentioned it last time.
Yeah, I think you did with Genevieve. Yeah, Dad has trouble sleeping sometimes, so he'll just put Rick's podcast.
This has been a strange thing. I don't want to jump off what you're saying.
You can.
Multiple people have mentioned that I have a calming voice.
Me too.
And the reality for me is like most people, when they hear their voice, it just feels grating. It just feels like, oh, is that what I sound like? But it's been mentioned to me multiple times that I have a calming voice. And that just makes me laugh.
100%. Like when we were dating when I was in Melbourne and you would leave me voice messages, I loved it.
This is a side of me I didn't really know.
Yeah. I loved it. I don't like anyone else leaving me voice messages. In fact, if you ring my phone, it says, please do not leave a message.
Yeah.
But with you, yeah, totally.
Cool. So if we go back to the response to the last podcast and getting lots of messages, what was the knock-on effect for you? Like what did that bring for you?
I had always known that when I moved up here in March, I was only seeing a handful of people, well, a big handful, maybe a couple of handfuls of patients. And I said, oh, don't worry, I'll be back every month and I'll be able to, I felt like I could be in two places at once.
Yep.
And when I got here, I realized that wasn't possible. I've only been back to Melbourne a couple of times, but then I want to see my family.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more like, the community in Melbourne is so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's little Gabby who I remember adjusting her before she was in kindergarten, when she was in kindergarten, and she's just finished high school, and I've adjusted her most of her life. And I was messaging her the other day, like, I remember when your mum called me and said, like, do you think she's ready for school? And she started school, thank goodness, because she wouldn't want to do one more year. But those people and the families that I was in their life for so long really mean a lot to me. And I want everything. I know I can't do it, but I want to still make space for people that I really care about in a way that feels valuable for me and for them. And I don't want to just leave Melbourne to come up here. Like there's just a big part of me that still wants to play a role there without having to adjust everybody.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you don't really need to say goodbye to all the connections, like if you think about seeing someone for 15 years, adjusting them, being in their life, like there's so many layers of connection in that relationship.
And so many highs and lows, and they've seen it with me as well. And I guess it's all about legacy and what you want to hold on to and what you want to let go of. But also I'm really bad at text messaging. Like sometimes I'll go off and I'll like message for hours and I just reply back, but then you get more messages and then I feel bad that I can't hold as many relationships as I used to.
Yeah.
But I can't. And that's my realization. Like when I had all my staff who were amazing, I could hold more relationships with my patients. So I could see them. I have a good memory, used to, and I just can't do that the same now.
Yeah, right. And is that part of the reflecting, turning 50 and noticing?
No, it's part of burning out.
Yeah.
And being petrified to burn out again, yet not wanting to lose all my identity. Yeah, I think something along those lines of sometimes I'm all or nothing, and I'm like, oh, what if I don't have to be all or nothing? Like, what if I take the part that I love, which was community?
Yep.
You know, there's some friendships, there's some times in your life where, like summer camp, I was in summer camp in America in my 20s and loved it, had the best friends.
Yeah.
I don't have to contact those people every day or every year. And in fact, I bumped into Sam one time in Frankston Beach, but I may or may not again. That was just a period of time. And sometimes you hadn't heard of season, reason, lifetime. I said that the other day to you. And, you know, some people are in your life for a season, a reason, a lifetime. But yeah, I'm just trying to like not burn out, but find what was truly where I was energized and feed that.
Yeah.
Because I miss that up here. I miss that sense of community and longevity, I guess, with people.
And as best as you can answer that now, because it might still be a work in progress, like what do you consider the parts of Melbourne that energise you?
I value growth. And so when I worked with a lot of women for fertility, and then when I randomly see, their kid on Instagram, I'm like, oh, I love seeing that. So I like the longevity and the growth of people.
Yep.
So wellness care maintenance care was never for me, as in like, you stay exactly the same. My business was called Evolve, and I wanted to see people change. So that's what I like. That's what I want to hang on to. That's what energized me the most, like seeing change
Yeah. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
There was a beautiful man and his wife died during COVID and I never got to meet her, but he, no one hugged him during that time when his wife died, and you become really close to them, and I really valued his, like he came in for an adjustment, but we talked about life. And then when my mum died, I was like, oh, this is what he went through, as a widower. And then when I went back randomly, I bumped into him at IGA, and it was the weirdest thing. I didn't even go to this IGA, and he just gave me the biggest hug. And he goes, yeah, actually it was private between us, but, he's in his 70s, my dad's age. He just gave me the biggest hug, and we were just grateful for that journey. So I think that's what I miss. And up here, just starting out, it's different for me because I know I can't invest as much energy as I did. I've been practicing since 2007.
Yeah. So not, as in order not to lead to the whole burnout situation again.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it feels like a bit of a push and pull, because there's like the pull of connection and wanting to have those meaningful connections, and not wanting to push so hard that you burn out.
Yeah. And there was definitely a reunion kind of high for like a while for people. Getting in contact. It was kind of fun. And they were very curious about you. So a lot of them are just listening to yours to find out more about you.
It's funny, isn't it? I was down at a cafe yesterday and ran into someone I know, and they said, oh, we listened to your podcast on the way home from Stanthorpe the other day. It's good to hear what's going on. I'm like, cool. It's just strange. It's just like, because we just sit here and put it out. I guess I've definitely become more mindful of what I say, and in the same time, it's called humaning for a reason. So I'm also pretty open to what actually is going on. I did feel a bit of guilt around cancelling those couple of podcasts when things were really hectic.
Yeah.
but it was like, oh, that's like probably the bit past the edge of that I want to go to.
Yeah. Also, like, why do we, there's that, and you talked about it with Genevieve, like, when do we push ourselves and for growth, and when do we just acknowledge, I just don't want to do that?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of that whole me wanting space for myself. Like, that's some of the backlash too. But I was really proud of you and Genevieve when you came back upstairs that day and said, yeah, we're going to pull it. I'm like, awesome. Like, we get to choose like what stress and how much pressure. And when you cancelled the one the other week, I was like, good for you. Like, if you can, do it. Like, I also knew that you would have been a really good conversation as well. But it's nice to be on the other side of that stress.
Yeah. Yep. So there was a situation, because you did share in the last podcast around, like, it was called Making Space, the episode. It was all about making space in your life and liminal space and letting things emerge. And we spoke about on that podcast about having some non-scheduled days to just let things pop up. And what's been the knock-on of that conversation?
Yeah, there's probably layers. There's probably I just don't know how it's interpreted. Yeah. I sometimes think, like, I gave you a false answer before saying, yeah, I physically feel fine. And then there's layers. So I think sometimes I'm brutally honest. And sometimes I'm so honest that people don't believe me.
Yeah.
And, but that honesty for me is heartfelt. Like, when I said I need space, like, because Tara, your sister, said, oh no, I shouldn't have invited you over for dinner. I'm like, it's not that. But if I'm being honest, I have to fuel myself first in order to have life. I love people. Anyone who knows me, I keep on talking and I will talk to anyone. So it's not about I don't like people, but if I'm not fueled, space is my medicine. And my intuition and connection to above is really important to me. So for me, if I don't have space for that, I'm not going to show up how I would want to show up. And you're not going to get my value because it's like I'll be half there. And that's what I would rather people know, not because, like with your sister inviting us, I just need to go with my flow. But it's, what is your flow? I would want people to question do they do things that they don't want to do? Like, how often do we do things that we don't want to do?
Out of obligation. Yeah.
And so when we had...
Shooting.
All the time. I said that this morning, didn't I, about something? When we caught up with your sister and your mum and the family on Saturday night, I think it was.
Yeah.
For pizza, it was so easy and we were all ready and we're like, hey, yeah, let's all catch up. That was a flow for all of us.
Yeah.
And it felt energized. We were like, we had a great night. That's the difference for me than planning too much ahead of time. And I can do that if I'm energized, but if I'm not energized, then it's kryptonite. And yeah.
So what are some of the shoulds that rattle around up there for you?
Now, what was my should? Oh yeah, I study Psych-K, and which is the subconscious belief system, and it's a really great tool in which to shift subconscious beliefs. And I had some beliefs about money. You know, I just bought a house, and I've obviously moved jobs, didn't work for a while, and so I had some. And I know that I can shift those beliefs very quickly in a Psych-K session, but I haven't. I think that's what I said this morning. I should be doing that. So for me, more what I should be doing with my time is looking at my beliefs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, more than doing washing or cooking or any of those things.
Yeah.
My shoulds are not like a shopping list of
obligation.
It's more like my soul should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good differentiation.
Yeah. Yeah, that restlessness that I've had is not because, I mean, I do like things in order but yeah, I know what my soul needs and should be doing, wants to do. Even talking to Brona today, my sister-in-law, and, you know, truly one of my greatest friends, I knew I couldn't sit here on the podcast until we'd spoken because we'd played phone tag this morning.
Yeah.
And there's that feeling of like, no, I really want to connect with Brenna, and I get to show up now. So that's the should stuff. Because I will never get through my list of things, how many emails and text messages, and I'm not ever going to be a housewife that cleans out the fridge on a Monday, and you do more stuff than me. But my shoulds are soul shoulds.
What's the emotion in there behind that?
Well, because I haven't always acknowledged it. And it's just, I think moving up here, I've got a bit more space, and I get to feel into what I know is more of my truth. Yeah. When I lived in Africa, I had time for that. There was no Wi-Fi back then, and didn't really have people.
In the 1600s.
Like 2011 on 15, like a few years. But yeah, I just got to listen and walk for hours listening to Wayne Dyer and the Tao Te Ching, and I just had more time to delve into me. Yeah, and So I'm so glad we're not renovating.
Yeah, it's just, so for context, we've been renting a friend's house, and it's 110 years old, and we were, for most of this year, we're going to buy it, and then some circumstances and plans changed, and we decided not to buy it. And I think we decided because we went away and had a holiday, and then realised that we actually really like spending time together, and that renovating this house was going to suck most of that time. So that's been a pretty nice realisation, isn't it? Not so much the house thing, but just like, life can be pretty enjoyable if we make space to share it together.
Yeah, and now it's not like the next 2 years are not going to be looking at everything that's wrong with the house and trying to fix it. It's just like, we can have time now to hang out and to chat, and also let life drop in. Otherwise, that's where default was coming in. We knew what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that. And I think that's where the shoulds come in now. It's like, I have space now to do that.
And that I see that as a version of making space. It's like not filling 100%. It with the shoulds of, I could renovate this house and it could be awesome, but what's the cost? Yeah,
it would have cost us a lot. Now we just get to have fun in our new house come January, and we get to start from day one.
Yeah. And that frees up space, doesn't it?
Yep. And already our ideas have come in.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was probably, I don't know, mid last week or something that we kind of got the unofficial all clear with it. And nearly immediately shit just started to flow again.
Thank gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were in kind of like, stick your helmet on, let's just get through this bit.
And there's a fine line, like the whole couch thing. So we found a couch. We wanted a cuddle couch, which is cute. And we went shopping and we looked at couches, and we're like, we're not going to buy one until we've bought the house. And it flowed. We found like what we wanted. We found the colour. We really loved the girl that was serving us.
It was all good.
It was all good. And then yesterday we emailed her and said, yeah, we're going to buy the couch. And someone else replied, not the woman we were talking to, and the price had changed a little bit and it was going to take longer. And all of a sudden my energy was like, I don't want that couch anymore. And so we're still, like, this is live right now, trying to work out, is that because it got a little bit hard, or is there a better couch for us? And I think that's where having that space to listen to my gut. My gut was like, no, Roxanne, you're not who I was talking to. I feel like I don't want that couch anymore. And I do a lot of that in my life. And when we're never really going to know, was that a good move or was it a bad move? But I wanted to check in with you too about how you felt. And it's only a couch, but it happens all the time, doesn't it?
It's symbolic.
If you don't get that car park, were you supposed to go to that shop, or were you supposed to keep on driving? Or like, when is the universe guiding you? When is there something better around the corner?
Yeah.
We both talked even how we met, like we were supposed to go through a bit of fuckery until we met.
Yeah.
And so it all makes sense now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, our theme last week in Circle was control versus surrender. And it was exactly that. It's like, how hard do you push to control situations, and then what does it look like to let go of your grip a little bit? It was a really interesting conversation, especially for men, because like for men it's like create, provide, do, and there's an element of control in order to do that, and for women, but just in this circle. And conversely, the idea of surrender was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a big one.
And I think we had our example of that with the house stuff. There was only so much we could do, and then we had to surrender. Like, it was out of our control.
Yeah, and then we got little glimpses of like, oh, I think it's going to be okay. We got rewarded.
Little bits of evidence.
Yeah. Can we do a poll on that couch?
Yeah.
No, it'll be too
Leave
late.
a comment below.
Yeah.
If we should get the original couch, or should we push
Even though my gut is saying no.
Or should we push to find another and see what happens?
Yeah.
All right, that's all we needed for this podcast.
And also, I'll override it all because I can't do what I don't want to do.
Correct.
So, vote away. But yeah, I think that's what's happened to me as I got older. I just cannot do what I want to do. Like, there's that anxiety builds up. It's like, no. But I'm learning to accept that and quite like it.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your Psych K?
No. Yeah, I can. Something Bruce Lipton is a famous cell biologist, and he taught at my college in New Zealand a lot. He's still there, actually. Just talking about epigenetics, our environment, and how our subconscious beliefs can shape us.
Yeah.
And I was always curious on how do we change these beliefs. So if you had a car accident in the rain when you were younger, for some reason you might be nervous every time you drive in the rain.
Yeah.
And you might not know why, but somewhere along the way you were stressed out and your subconscious or your conscious put a belief in that's pretty much said the rain is dangerous. And so it's looking back at where we are in this moment right now, what subconscious beliefs might be holding us back. And it's really quite an easy tool of coming up with a new belief that feels good and wiring the brain. So we use a lot of left and right hemisphere work, the whole brain posture, and bringing in some new beliefs. And it's funny because I did a quick one on you a few months ago, and you had a better belief about the whole money thing than I did.
Yeah.
So I have to do that work. So yeah, I love it. We'll probably do a bit more of it next year, and maybe even over on Zoom with people. So yeah,
cool.
It has changed my life. It's how I ended up ultimately giving my practice away a couple of years ago because I just couldn't work it out. So I was standing in the shower in a whole brain posture, which is crossing over it's like the subconscious, my belief system. I was just bringing my left and right brain together logistically and emotionally and just coming up with a bigger answer. And it was like, oh, I would rather give this business away than sell it to someone I didn't want to, and it would be easier. And so that's how it changed my life, you know. And there were definitely things I didn't see coming with all of that. That was outside of my control, but yeah, it's really powerful.
Cool. Yeah, I find that stuff super interesting because I'm kind of just new to that. So it's, like a lot of my work is like Gestalt's very awareness based. So it's like in the present moment, what is doing lots of work around awareness, acceptance, support.
I think they blend in really well because this effectively uses a muscle test to where are you right now, and you might not trust yourself.
Yep. And
if you don't trust yourself, you can have the best strategy in your world, but until your subconscious trusts you. So that's what we look at. So where are you right now is important. So we would just muscle test that and try to bring in a new belief. Yeah.
What's a muscle test? Because I've heard of it and I've experienced it, but I don't know. It's
controversial.
I don't know how common, and I don't know how accepted.
Yeah, it's sort of controversial. Some people believe it, some people don't. But I've used it for years as a chiropractor. But you're literally putting an arm out and eyes are looking down, and you're looking for what feels right in the body and what doesn't feel. So if I was to push your arm and say, my name is Rick, you know yourself as Rick, so it would be strong. And then if you said your name is Bob, then it would probably be weak. It's a bit more detailed than that.
Yeah.
But if you stand up and close your eyes, not if you're driving, and you think of a person that you like, your body should sway forward.
Right.
And if you stand up, close your eyes, and then think of someone you don't like, usually your body would go back. And you can do that for anything. Like, do you want to do something? So it's really just tuning in at a cellular level.
Yeah.
What you're made up of.
There's no masking that, is there?
No. I mean, we did it. We were doing it years ago when we went to the Anthony Robbins back in like year 2000 or something. We just muscle test ourselves just in the supermarket, like what fruit and veggies were good without. So we were just stealing dates.
Should I have a 13th?
Yeah, and we were drinking Pepsi and we're like, oh, we know this is not good for us. And it came up not good for us and we bought it anyway. But yeah. I think any way you can help shift something when you know you've been bogged down for a long time and patterns haven't changed, it's a great tool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the stuckness part of it, it's really interesting. It's probably something that everyone relates to in some capacity in their life, is like that feeling of helplessness or being stuck and not being able to move and really trying to effort their way out of that situation.
Yeah. And it's not the only thing that can change. Oh, look, some people who are more trained in Psych-K might say they can, but when you and Genevieve were talking the other day on when you can do a hard thing, then that helps you with a new belief. It's like, no, I can do a hard thing. So it's not just you need a muscle test and to switch the brain over to change a belief. It's you just need more evidence. So sometimes you can push yourself towards something else and you could have a great experience driving in the rain. It's like, oh, actually the rain is safe.
Yeah, and then that's new evidence, and then the new belief pops in.
Yeah. And you just keep on having to fuel that rather than going back to the old one. Yeah.
So what else? That's a funny question to ask in a podcast, specifically around Melbourne. I know there's some plans looming for next year, and there's some stuff happening this month.
Yeah, well, Marie, one of my good friends and staff member, I say old staff member, but she's not old, but previous staff member, she came up to Byron, what was that, a couple of months ago, and, you know, Marie has gone through a big life change in the last couple of years too, and we just missed each other, and I love that woman, and she's a big part of my family now.
Because she was your practice manager, is that what you'd say?
Yeah, she could be that. No, I didn't know. No, she was just one of the 4 amazing women that helped support me, support others.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So she was basically, when you came to reception, you got greeted by Marie and
got nourished by Marie.
Yeah. And there was a few of them, and they're all great in their different ways. But yeah, when Marie was up here in Byron, we all caught up with coffee. I caught up with her first, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I have to come and spend time with Rex. So we all went up, and we just remembered how much we loved the community and missed the community. And Marie was up here on a kind of a retreat, and I'm like, I would love to run a retreat. I would love to do something like that. And so ultimately, I think that's what my end goal would be, to run retreats with people from Melbourne up here. But we're not really ready for that just yet. So next year we're looking at running a year's program and just checking in. I like physical. You're good on Zoom, and so we're going to try to come up with a way to support people in a community next year that are in Melbourne. So I'm going down frequently, being part of their lives, not so much adjusting, but just, I guess it's I'm making space to encourage others to make space for their life to look different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to do it with you.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
And I think from our businesses that we're not running anymore, we both have that yearning for community.
Yeah.
I don't know, with me studying, like I have an element of that with my study crew, and men's circle, but it's enough of a taste to want more, you know, and to really feel nourished by those connections as they build over time. And I think that's what's really probably changed for me over the last 12 months, is watching how beautiful the connections can grow over a period of time. And it's probably similar to you over your years of treating people.
Yeah.
and the end result of that, like the ease and the peace and the fun and the support and all of it that comes from the strengthening of the connection.
Yeah. And it's over time, and it's over all like the hardships as well. It's not just the highs. It's when you've seen someone go through so much on both sides, us as the provider and it actually just makes you feel more human.
Yeah.
It's not seeing someone at their best. It's seeing someone on all levels.
Oh, yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like it's welcoming all of them.
Yeah. And I think that's why I love hearing about your gym. Like, obviously, I didn't know you at that time. And when I hear about the people why they loved coming and training with you, it wasn't...
I had a good playlist. That was the main reason. I thought I did anyway.
I bet you did. Well, I did change my music based on every patient that came in. So it was very important to me too.
Yeah.
And we started our own playlist. Before we even met, we started our own playlist, didn't we?
Yes, that's...
One day we might share it with you, but I don't know. It's pretty private. Yeah. So I love the fact that you wanted that community. Not so much wanted. We're really good at it. Like, we've got so much to learn. We're both manifesting generators in human design, and we're here to share what we learn. And we try not to use our phone too much, but we Google everything. Like, we want to learn, like you and me.
Yeah.
As much as we can about different things.
Yeah.
And I know that we're both good teachers of life, and I just want to share that with people. So yeah.
And we're both really conscious of, like, we have a pretty strong aversion to sales. It's just not our thing. So even like speaking about this on this podcast has a little bit of ickiness to it, isn't that?
Yeah, well, because I know most people that are listening would not come anyway. But I think what fundamentally not selling it, first of all, we haven't exactly created it, but it's more that both of us try to be really congruent.
Yeah.
And it will, whatever it will be.
Yeah.
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 If I was a multi-level marketing or whatever you call it, I would have sold doTERRA. I just gave it everybody like cost price. Like, I am not the salesperson.
Yeah.
My brother always said I should have had my own products because people would have bought whatever I put my name on, but that hasn't been me. But if you are looking for a community, I know that you and I are just ready to form one.
Yeah, to do our thing.
Yeah. And can I just put a disclaimer?
Yeah.
We are not relationship counselors. We are not doing any of that because...
It's definitely not that.
That's definitely not. I just don't want to be those people who pretend that they know everything as a couple, because I'm pretty sure that most of them aren't together anymore.
And I think, yeah, so we're gonna fly down to Melbourne in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
15th, I think. And we've got a little 3-hour workshop. And it's really just a taste of connection and community and what it feels like to be around and supported and accountable to people that are in a similar or different boat to you, but just doing it with a group of people.
And if you have received, like, I've only posted about it once, but if you have received it individually from me, it's because I see the quality in you that I would want. Like, there's some other people that might sign up. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that, but it's like, it wasn't really what I was expecting. But if you personally got one from me, I was probably on the fly in the car. I'm like, I should send it to Bernadette. Or it meant that, I would see the value that they would add to community. And
because that's what community is. It's not just like two people at the front.
No.
It's the whole group. And I see that in Circle all the time. It's like there's so much value. Every man's got so much wisdom, so much value. And it takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Because it's a collective rather than a, pedestal thing.
Completely.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We'll go down and do that.
Get to see my family, which would be
Get
great.
to hang out with your family. And that's part of the reason for putting together something next year is to fulfill that kind of need, that meaning part of it, for you to have a connection with the people that you already have a connection with in a new and evolving way. And for me to be also involved in that, kind of like the third wheel, but...
No, you kind of kidnapped me and moved me up here.
Wow.
So I want my family to see, my friends. No, I think you've got so much to add. And running the business, I had to be quite masculine in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just because it was my business, and Genevieve talked about that as well. And I think having you in my life now, especially when I know you're surrounded by your men's circle as well, I don't have to do so many things that I used to do.
Yeah.
And so I get to drop in differently because you take a different role. And I think I'm really excited for the people that I value to hear what you have to share and say. And yeah, I think it's really important to have that male and female, because I used to run like a little men's circle myself, because I was reading the Queen's Code and then the Keys of the Kingdom, and I got so obsessed with that. I think it was because I was in my 40s dating men who were in the tunnel, and I'm like, what is this? And so I had to really investigate what was going on with men in their late 30s, 40s, because first of all, I didn't think it was me the problem, but I realized it was where men were at, and I didn't understand where they were at, so I was taking it personally.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about me at all. I mean, I'm sure sometimes it was, but so then you can't even get the Queen's Code, but I remember finding a printer and printing 20 copies and just giving them out. People were buying them for like $11, I think we sold them for, and the men were loving it. But some of the wives were like, I remember telling one woman, and she will not be, I don't think she'll listen to this. I said, you should listen to this book. Like, it's called The Amazing Development of Men, is only available on Audible.
Yep.
I go, it's amazing. That's what we're listening on the plane. And,
yep.
and she goes, there's nothing about men that is amazing. They shouldn't be used in the same sentence. And I'm like, oh, your poor husband. So when I started really delving into that, I was really curious about what men thought. And, we had this small group of men that were coming in, and they were legends, like still to this day, like love these guys. But I just couldn't hold that space.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my role to do that and run the business and talk to the women. So I like having you around.
And I think part of this idea of support is like rolling through my head. Like we had a conversation before about it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty relevant here, and I'll give context. Like I'm writing a paper on the theory of change for Gestalt therapy. And one of the pillars of that, so there's awareness, there's acceptance, and one of the other pillars is support. And part of the reason I'm speaking in an uneducated way because I'm uneducated about this because I'm just learning about it. So let's just...
It made sense earlier.
is that people struggle to ask for support because there's some shame that they can't do it by themselves or don't have the capacity to have fixed it by now, bad language, have made change by now. And then the actual putting their hand up and going to an event or seeing a coach or seeing a therapist is really challenging because there's some shame in there that they haven't been able to sort it out. And that's potentially the first obstacle to get over.
Yeah.
And I think I know there's been times in my life where I haven't done things because I did not want anyone else to know that I hadn't had that stuff sorted.
Yeah. Like tax.
Yeah, fully.
I can't tell you how many people have been so stressed, their lower back goes because they haven't got their tax, but they're too embarrassed to then go to the accountant to say that they haven't done it or they haven't paid it. And so it's swept under the carpet where there are people that love getting you back in order. Like
that's their job.
Yeah, that's their job.
They're good at
it. I've got two friends who help people sort out their linen cupboards and their pantries, and people have got so much shame about that stuff where they could just ask for support. Are you good at asking for support now?
I'm much better.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I would lone wolf the shit out of that previously. As in like, I'll do it. I'm fine. I got it. Yeah, much better. I think the last 5 years, like post-surgery, I kind of had to.
Yeah, that would
I
have
had no
been
choice. And then
slap in the face.
yeah, and that was
Yeah.
just little bits of evidence that like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's not the end of the world to put my hand up and go, I can't do this, or I need help with this, or. And then what we talk about in Circle is like, because we talk about support a lot, but it's like we break it up into self-support and external support. So like, how do I support myself in this? And then what external support can I reach out for? Whether that's a person, whether it's an environment, whether it's a boundary, you know. So it's really interesting to think about the role that support has in change and growth and evolution.
Do you think there's such a thing as, I don't know if this is going to come out wrong, but like false support? Because I think I've been guilty of this. So where I've needed help in my life, like when I was burnt out but running a business,
yeah,
I know it feels good to help people because I help people all the time. So I would say, oh, is there any chance, could you like drop this off to somebody else? I would give people a job to make them feel important, to look like I was asking for support. But the truth was that wasn't where I needed support, but it somehow made me feel better.
What was your intention?
Well, when people were saying, what can I do? I could only think what they could do, not what I really needed. So if I knew they were good at cooking, I'm like, yeah, actually, there's a family that needs help. Could you support that? Or could you drop that off to my dad's? Or I would, rather than me asking what support I actually needed, it was easier for me to not reject them because they were offering support. That's probably, I didn't want to reject people who were offering, but when you're on your way to that, could you drop this off? I just remember, I feel like I still probably do it. I look like I'm helping. I look like I'm letting them help. But somehow I'm not letting them into where I really need the help. Yeah.
What's the benefit of that for you?
The benefit is I'm giving them a feeling of satisfaction.
Yeah.
And they may think that they're closer to me.
Yeah. How do you benefit from that? Coaching hats on.
I know. I was like, behave, Jo, behave. Sometimes he'll do this in the bedroom. Like, do not coach me.
Not actually.
Not in the bedroom.
Let's just clarify that. Coaching hat does not come on.
No, my dad is listening.
Go on.
How does it benefit me? It means I still want people to feel like they're important to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be really in my inner circle for me to be able to say, hey, I'm not okay.
And what were the consequences of that?
Right now, I don't think it was a bad thing. I think it was smart. Because
they felt valuable.
They felt valuable. They were valuable. There's just like layers of valuable people in my life.
Yeah.
And the people that I've truly asked for help for, they'll know that they're truly loved and trusted by me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the benefit is sometimes strong people. I don't know if I'm allowed to call myself strong. Used to be. But if we ask for help or support and people can't hold us or deliver it, then it's really painful. And I think that's what happened around the time of my mum's, where I didn't know who could hold me or support me.
Yep.
And so it's easier sometimes to not ask for support because if you can't, like you say you're going to do it.
Yep.
So I can easily say, hey, can you take the bins out tonight? But for me to say, hey, I'm really struggling.
Yep.
And I remember Matt, my friend, I remember ringing him years ago and saying, Matt, I'm not okay. And he just got straight on the phone. And that's all I needed. But I know that Matt, who I see once a year, like when Mum died, he flew to the funeral.
Yep.
Didn't need everyone to do that, not at all. But he's just that person that had been there for me.
Yeah.
And he was here for a funeral recently and we caught up for 20 minutes, you know.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah. And I messaged him today about the house actually. And he goes, oh, how does it feel? Because I said I'm a grown-up now. And I said, just feels like the perfect timing.
Mm.
So if there's someone like Matt in my life, then yeah, I can ask for support.
Yeah. And that's also interesting because what I hear in there is potentially not asking for support when you need it based on the previous experience of something that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
And not wanting to risk that same exposure to the emotions that popped up from that.
Yeah. Because if I really ask for help, not just, hey, have you got the phone number of your hairdresser?
Yeah, there's layers.
That's kind of making someone feel, oh yeah, come and go to my hairdresser.
Yeah.
But the true stuff. And then now I guess I'm learning that you support me.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, there's 3 layers of dialogue, like the factual, personal, and relational. Like, you can nearly think of that as the frame for support as well. There's like can you give me your mate's number? I want to get a plumber.
Yeah.
Then there's a personal, and then there's the relational, which feels like, Matt, I need you to come now. And that's steeped in experience and safety and all the rest of it.
And I wonder if most of us only have a handful of them. I mean, I know some patients who have got on some weight loss apps or something like that, and they felt more support from an app to lose weight.
Yeah, right.
And because it tells you, like, you put in your, I don't know how it all works, but now Instagram's probably listening to me. But it was easier to have support. Hey, why don't you get up? Here's a recipe. Than telling someone, hey, I want to lose weight. Will you help me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think there's probably layers of it too, because it's like we're evidence-based creatures. So we want to see that if I ask for this, do I get it? Yes, no. Okay, cool, got it. Can I ask for this? Do I get it? Yes. Like and it's nearly like this little safety of like, I'll ask that bit and then that bit and it can go down. That's what I noticed in Circle. It's like a lot of the shares and a lot of the interactions are at that factual kind of level at the start. And then pretty quickly when there's evidence of support, big things get shared and big things get held because there's a safety there. And I think it's really interesting, like, for us and people listening, like, how do we block support based on our beliefs, based on our experiences, based on what evidence we don't have or do have? Like, it's
pretty
super
cool.
interesting. Yeah. And then what impact does that have on our growth, on our change?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating to be fully capable of giving support but not receiving it.
Yeah, that's a dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that something you see in yourself or in someone else?
I had to learn how to receive as a woman because I was very much in my masculine with the business.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I spoke about this last time where people used to bake for me or cook for me and I'm like, used to get so annoyed. And Marie used to laugh, but I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't what I needed.
Yeah.
But, a coach that I had years ago who's like, but the universe is trying to give you things and until you start receiving, you're not going to get the other things that you want. So it was big for me to start receiving things. And if anyone used to be at Evolve, like we had so many crystals. I never bought one crystal. And I got annoyed and I went to Damien, the kinesiologist. I'm like, why are these kids, why is everyone giving me crystals? I didn't say, hey, bring me a crystal. And he said, oh, everyone's trying to build something and they see that you're building something. So they're, especially with
adding
kids,
bricks to the wall.
They're adding bricks to the wall.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, I don't need a crystal. I need lunch. Or I need a rest or I need to pay my bass. I was stressed about other things and I was missing the receiving part. So I don't know, are receiving and support the same thing?
I think there's some threads that are connected.
It's receiving support or...
Yeah. But it's the same thing. It's like, do I give myself permission to receive the support? Because with that, because I think that's where the shame comes back in. Because it's the shame that blocks the fear of the interaction.
Yeah.
I don't want this other person to know this bit about me that I can't do this thing myself or whatever the story is. And that's what that's what creates the rigidity and the stuckness. And I think that's the power, and I'm looping it back to a group. The power of a group is seeing other people's experiences and seeing your story in their experience and realizing that we are all so fucking connected.
Yeah.
And I think that's what excites me about Melbourne next year. Every week in Circle is like we get to see ourselves in the story of others. It's essentially what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really beautiful thing because it gives us permission to be fully ourselves, you know?
Because we didn't come here to be on our own.
No.
Tried.
Yeah, you did your best.
Yeah. We talk about spiritual beings having a human experience. And our human experience is to be surrounded by other people.
Yeah.
And learn from them.
Mm.
So Jack, my favourite little person, male human, and Holly, he's 3 and now he's going through a stage he doesn't want help. And so I think, when does that start from, like, we would dress them and and now he can wipe his bum and then he wants to put it on his pants all by himself. I just wonder when the whole spectrum of age, and then when you get older, like, and that's the hardest part when someone's aging, like, let me help you do this. And I can see both spectrums in family. Dad's still wiping his own bum. Don't worry, Dad, we're not talking about that. But yeah, with Jack, now he can do things all by himself. It's really interesting because when he doesn't need us anymore, we feel a bit rejected because he can do it himself.
And that's interesting because in the middle of that, between those two ends of the lifespan, there's probably I'll probably take out the word probably. There is some experiences of codependence where it's like, and that can be enmeshed in kindness and caring, but it's also support.
Yeah.
And sometimes that support can be taking away the power from the other person and not allowing them to grow. So it's a really nuanced situation.
Yeah, it's fun to watch because when I think about asking support is hard. When you're a toddler, you don't want the support. Like, once you get to I want to do my own hair. I want to do it myself. Like, I want to feed myself, or I want to get in the car. I want to take it off. Like, it's cute to see them transition to that. But I wonder what in our psyche then makes us want to be independent. And then where is that balance to come back and say, oh, I need you. Like, I love it when the kids get annoyed with us and then we go somewhere else and they get really shy. So next minute they're holding a hand and they soften. So it gives them confidence as well to not need support. But they probably only feel that back because we're fully supporting them.
Yeah.
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 We'll play with that.
Yeah. It's super interesting. And then it's kind of like, I think the knock-on effect that I see is with the support, whether it's self-support or external, like, you get to realize that there's a choice for change. Like, you get to realize that you're not a victim of your unconscious patterning. Like, you don't have to keep rolling through the same thing, that you can actually be at the crossroads and go, I normally go that way, but I think today I'm going to go that way. Mm-hmm. But that's often done with, whether it's self-support or external, like feeling, I used to call it the scaffold of support, which the term
that's
like,
right. I remember seeing
when
that.
it held me up when I fell down. And that feels really true still. It's like the external support is, for me, it's a scaffold.
Is that you eating well, getting sleep, exercising? Is that your external?
Oh, it's also people.
Yeah, who you'd go to. Yeah.
My people, my circle, partner, like all of it. Like, how can I reach out in need and have the people I need help me get through life?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's important to have, like, your top people that you can...
Your go-tos.
Yeah, and even though everyone's got a lot on, we get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the question, because we're getting close to an hour, so we'll start to
beep, beep, beep.
wind this shit up. I think the question is, like, how do I not ask for support? Like, what's holding me back from asking for support? And as a question to ponder, not so much answer right now, it's like, just as an awareness thing, it's like, what parts of my ego get in the way and stop me from asking support? What parts of shame and guilt get in the way? And it's just an interesting thing to see how that type of energy flows in your life.
Yeah, well, there's stubbornness too, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, I can do it myself.
Yeah.
Like I remember for years, anyone who knows me, I used to hate taking out my rubbish bin every week. And then because I was living on my own, I'm like, I can just do it every 2 weeks. And then the recycling every month. But it used to really eat at me. And then I'd hear the trucks on a Thursday morning. I'm like, damn it. And now when you came along, you're like, you'll never have to do that again. And I'm like, I'm going to take you up on that. But what had happened in the last few years, I did have people, like I had a patient who lived around the corner, goes, I will come to your house every Thursday and take your bin out. He did. And I couldn't accept that. I was just like,
because of the independence thing.
It was the independence, and it was the pride of like, come on, you can't be that bad. You don't want to take. It wasn't that I didn't want to take my bin out. It was just that I felt like I was doing everything for myself, looking after family, patients, business, staff, and then come Thursday nights, or I don't even know what day it was, Wednesday, Thursday, I'd have to do that. Just felt like, and so when you came along and you said you'll never have to take the bin out, I'm like.
Because I was the opposite. I've like, I'm already taking the bins out every Wednesday because I do it because I live by myself.
Yeah, but I really liked receiving that. And it's not like I don't empty the bin or, you just
never have to take it out again.
But I'm like, I'm going to receive that. And I was talking to Yana, who I work with, about that the other day. And it's like, yeah, it's actually really nice to receive support.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will have a look at myself over the next little bit to see if I'm... not asking or rejecting is different, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's also that little side part of it is like, what's self-support? Like, how do I support myself? That could potentially be the first port of call. And I think there's like that links into the independence bit a bit.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole soul thing, coming back to like, what does my soul want to do? Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Well, I think that's our follow-up email in the bag.
Thanks, Dad, for listening.
Thanks, Colin. So yeah, we're scooting down to Melbourne on the Friday the 15th of November, and we've got a few seats left in that, so we'll put a link into the show notes.
It's literally $20.
It's literally $20. Like, we just want to hang out, really.
We want to cover the kombucha in the room.
Yeah.
Keen to see people. And also what I know, and because I've met a lot of your friends down here too, the quality of people that have been in my life are epic. And just, it's like when you get in the room with these good humans, you feel better.
Yeah, it's that. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll have you on the podcast again and see how it all went.
We'll do one with my dad down there.
Yeah.
Now we'll see.
Thanks, Jojo.
Thanks, Ricky.
That was fun, Ricky.
I know, it's fun. The last thing is I was listening to the last podcast and I'm like, we should have a podcast party when we get our house, because everyone I've listened to, I really like. I've met Laith once, twice. I really love listening to your podcast, but I really want to meet everybody. So one day we'll have us all in the same place. And
sounds good.
Yeah, you've attracted some good humans.
Yeah,
lucky me.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, baby.
Bye. Did we